I interviewed my grandmother, Doris Murch. She was born in St. Mary's Hospital in Lewiston, Maine on July 4th, 1949. She is daughter of Joseph Champagne and Therese Cody Champagne.
All of my grandparents were born in Canada, all four of them. And when they all got married, at some point they decided to move to America because there was better jobs here at the time. So my father's mother and father moved to Augusta, and actually my main Cody's family moved to Augusta too. And then from there, all the kids lived in different places. But I think they all came to Augusta when they first moved here. And it was probably around 1920, maybe a little bit before.
Both of her parents worked in mills in Lewiston for almost 20 years. When the mills closed, they both got different jobs. As a kid, she had many chores and duties around the house, such as doing the dishes, sweeping the floors, dusting, vacuuming. Sometimes she would rake and shovel. Okay, did you have any family recipes that were really, really good?
One of the best family recipes was Meme Cody's in the wintertime, when it snows.
Yeah.
She used to like to take real maple syrup and cook it up in water. She'd boil the water and it would bubble up and turn to like candy. And then we would go get a whole bunch of snow and bring it in a big tray. And she would put the maple syrup on top of that and we would eat it. And it was called cire.
Yeah. Wait, me and you did that one time.
Yep. And she used to make crepes, which are sort of like pancakes, but they're really flat.
Yeah.
And they don't taste like pancakes. And you can eat them all kinds of ways. People put all kinds of fancy stuff in them.
Yeah.
But we just put butter and then maple syrup, and we'd roll them up nice and tight and cut them up like that.
I noticed the differences between school back then and school now.
School back then, we had a small school. We had 6 nuns, sisters, that lived in the convent, and 4 of them were teachers. So in the school, we had 8 grades, but each room was big, and one half was like grade 1, and the other half was grade 2. And then across the hallway, there was 2 more. There was another big room, and it was split in half, and that was grade 3 and grade 4, and then upstairs was grade 5 and 6, and then 7 and 8. So there was about anywhere from 10 to 15, maybe 20 kids in each class. The room never held more than 35 students, so 35 divided by 2 classes usually.
Yeah.
Ours was a small class. We started off big when I was little, and when we graduated in 8th grade, there was only 7 of us. We had a lot of homework starting the first day in grade 1. They had homework every day. It was done.
What did you do when you and your friends got together on the weekends? Or
we had a roller skating rink in Lisbon, which was fun. Some kids used to go every Sunday. I couldn't go every Sunday. My parents thought once a month was enough. So I only got to go roller skating once a month. Older kids used to go on Friday night. We used to get together at each other's houses, and we'd play records and we'd dance. And sometimes we would have popcorn parties at each other's house. We'd have books that we were reading, and sometimes we'd just go and bring our books and bags of popcorn and bottles of Pepsi, and just sometimes we would sit and read, sometimes we would play. A lot of times we'd go to the beach in the summer. Everybody's parents went to the beach to go swimming, so whoever was going would bring, a couple of friends with them fishing. And on Thursday nights, we used to take the lantern and go outside on the lawn and get worms. So we'd have bait for the next night. And then on Friday night, we'd go fishing, and we used to bring the lantern because it was dark. You only caught those hornpout when it was dark. So we'd go with the lantern, and we'd stand on the rocks and fish. And so on my 50th birthday, Pepe gave me that lantern as a present.
Her and her family attended Mass every Sunday. She joined her church choir in the third grade and grew up celebrating all Catholic holidays. Do you have any memorable teachers that you really liked their teaching style in school?
And in high school, I had another favorite nun. Her name was Sister Wilford. I was kind of shy, and I did things in the background. I wasn't the leader of stuff. I would let the leaders just, do their thing, and then I would follow behind them and do the work, make sure the stuff got done. Whatever jobs they needed to do, I would go ahead and do them, to help them out. And Sister Wilford just sort of got behind me and let me know that it was okay to not be so shy. I was probably...
After she graduated high school, she wanted a temporary job. Back then, they didn't have the internet. Jobs would be advertised in the newspaper, and people would often go door to door to random businesses to see if they had any job openings. Her first job was as secretary at Harriman and Associates, where she met my grandfather, who was already working there as a draftsman while in college. She got married in 1970 and moved to Maryland, where my grandpa was stationed in the Navy. She enjoyed living in Maryland and starting their own family traditions as a couple. After 2 years, they moved back to Maine to raise their kids. She was the mother of 2 boys and decided to be a stay-home mom. She enjoyed raising her 2 lively, energetic children. They have always been close to each other ever since they were little. She faced some challenges as a mom, making sure the kids they hang out with were safe and nice people. Did anyone close to you or in your family serve in the war?
Yep. My father was in the Marines in World War II. And all of his brothers my uncles were all in World War II or in the Korean War. And the younger ones were in Vietnam. And I had some friends in high school that were in the service that went to Vietnam.
Do you remember of how they were with being in the war, or if anything happened to them?
Pepe, when I was little, Pepe didn't talk about it very much because he came out of the war in 46 and I was born in 49. So it was all kind of new. Sometimes guys don't like to talk about it for 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years. At whatever feels good for them, all of a sudden they'll talk. They'll always talk to their buddies. When they meet up with their friends, they always talk about the stuff. But they didn't talk about it at home too much. He talked to Uncle Don more about it because that's another 8 years past me. Talked a little bit to Uncle Don. And he told a lot of stuff to Steve and Jeff when they were growing up, when they were in high school. Because by then, he was in his 70s. And so it was easier for him to talk about it. And he told them all kinds of stuff. But he did tell us some stories. They were always some of the funny things that happened. Never about the battles or anything.
What were some of the funny things? Do you remember?
Yeah. When Pepe always liked exercising. And when they were little, he and Uncle Rudy used to do some boxing,
Yeah.
And so he always liked to run. He played baseball. He did all kinds of stuff. So when he was in the Marines, and one of his favorite things when he was in boot camp and in training before going overseas, they used to do major hikes, like a 50-mile hike with a full pack in uniform. And when he would go on his hike, he had his full pack. When they got to the top of this hill, which was 50 miles away, they got to the top of the hill. Everybody's taking off their packs. They're just collapsing on the ground. They're so thirsty. They're tired. Pepe opens up his his rucksack, whatever they called it. Opened it up, takes out his dumbbells, and starts doing exercises. So he told the story to Meme over time. And he used to tell us that was one of the funny stories. And I don't think Meme really believed it because, why would he? And then about 25 years ago, they had a reunion of the 1st Division Marines someplace. And so Dad and Meme went, and he got to see a lot of his old buddies that he'd kept in contact with over the years and visited a couple. But this was a big group of them. So he met this one guy that came over. They hugged their old buddies. And he says to his wife, Susie, This is the guy that had the dumbbells on top of the hill when we went on that hike. And Meme and Susie looked at each other and couldn't believe it. Holy cow, it's true.
A radio has always been part of her life, but didn't get a TV until she was 7 or 8. Back then, TVs were black and white and had very few channels. Her family didn't get a color TV until 1963. She didn't get a computer until 1983, and the internet was not available to the public until 1991.